Hey guys, it's Diabetic Girl, and yes, I am reporting to you live from Clara Barton Camp. I'm in my little doctor's suite right now because they decided I should have my own room. Bad idea. Very bad idea. Just saying. Okay, so, anyways, while I'm sitting here with you guys, I want to talk to you guys about the difference between residential and day camp because you guys know I've done both of them. Hold on. Sorry, my computer's really bothering me today. Okay, so residential is when you generally stay overnight for an extended period of time. It's usually a week. After a week, it's considered residential. Whereas day camp, which is what I do, I travel to many different places, and the kids only come for about 5 hours a day. When they go home, I get to sleep, I get to handle all that stuff, and then I'm back in the morning. Also, can we please talk about these bracelets that some campers made me? This one, well, this one was kind of cool, but this one, literally, when you flip it over, it's different. I was really amused by that. Sorry, guys. So then the question arises, why residential or why day camp? My thing is that, some kids just aren't ready for residential, so come to day camp. Like, come to the Worcester day camp if you want to look at the girls' residential camp, because they're in the same location. Sorry, I'm like really out of breath. So they're obviously in the same location, so you can, check out res camp while still being, 5 feet back and being able to be like, okay, well, I get to go home, which is always great. Another really great way to test out residential camp is by coming to the fall, winter, spring programs here at Barton. Right now, I am at November Wacky. No parents allowed. That's right, you heard me, no parents. So kids can come and test out camp, and they can bring a friend who doesn't have diabetes. So they can come and they can bring that friend, and the two of them can sort of get to know camp better, and it's a really, really fun experience. And then, they do other programs. They do a February Wacky, obviously in February. They do a pump weekend in January, which is where you get to get hooked up to a pump if you haven't worn one, and you get to decide what kind of pump you want to wear if you're not on a pump, and it's a very useful weekend. I did that, and that's in January. And then they have Diabetes and Dads, which is in March. You can bring your dad down to camp, and he can learn about the beaties. And then in April, they do Caregivers Weekend, and this weekend it seriously is the cutest little thing, because you have all these grandparents come, and they are so anxious to learn about their grandchildren's diabetes, and it's the cutest little thing, because they're just like, we want to learn. And you have some grandparents who are trying so hard, and there's a staff panel during that, and those grandparents ask really great questions, and I wish I could get my grandparents to go to this. They think they're above X. I've had diabetes for almost 16 years. So, another reason why you may not be ready for residential camp is because in a way that's sort of submerging yourself into a group of girls that you don't know if you're going to get along with. And if I've had this happen, if you don't get along with a group of girls and you have to live with them for 2 weeks, you're done, I am a very open-minded person. I'm not afraid to say stuff or try to make friends, but sometimes you just have the wrong group of girls in the cabin, and that can lead to a really bad camp experience. It's actually because of my camp experience I almost stopped going to camp, which would have been really sad because I love camp. And with day camp, while you do have to make new friends, chances are if you had a friend from last year and they return, because we're not always in our groups, we're sort of all together, we mesh together as one. The chances are you're probably going to see them during the day, and you can eat lunch with them. That's not a problem. Whereas with residential, as much as I love the program, if you have a friend but they're in a different cabin, the chances of you guys actually being able to spend more than 2 seconds together is about this big, and that can be really hard, especially if you're trying to adjust to something. Trust me, I speak from experience. Okay. And it's not that I don't like either program. I love residential. I love being able to get away from my parents, but I also love day camp because I get to travel and I get to meet so many new people. Either way, both experiences are very, very inspiring, and they just feel so great to be a part of. But sometimes it's just really hard to distinguish which one you want, and so in that way day camp kind of wins, because you're on the fence about residential. You can try day camp. If you like day camp, you can try residential. But if you don't like residential, but you still want to come to camp, you can do day camp. So either way, either way, they both come out a winner. And, sometimes, like, when I do day camp here at Worcester, I do miss a lot of the activities that, like, we used to do with residential, and it is really hard for me sometimes, but at the same time, too, I love what I do for a job, it's very wonderful. And the other thing with day camp, too, is that you can CIT when you are 13, 14, and 15, and when you're 16, you're like volunteer staff, and when you're 18, you're paid staff. So, that also works because with residential, you're 16 and 17, and you CIT, and then you might be paid staff, but you have to be invited back. Whereas with day camp, it's not that you have to be invited back. It has to be that, your application is just good, and, it feels really, really, really good. And I love what I do. You guys know that. I love what I do with my life. And I just got a college recommendation letter from my director here at camp. And she chose this quote, and it says, like, in order to give to yourself, you have to give to others. And she says that she always thinks about me with this quote because of how much I give back. And, like, that feels amazing. And, she said this, hold on, let me pull it up. She said this about, like, when I'm with my campers, so, okay. I have seen her grow into a responsible, independent young woman. She is an incredible young woman and such an inspiration to many campers and younger staff members. She has the ability to make every child feel comfortable, supported, but most of all treasured. I didn't think I was actually, like, capable of doing this, but, like, hearing it or reading it in the letter feels so crazy because I don't try to make these kids feel useless. I want them to know that, like, I love them with all of my heart. Like, I love them with all of my heart, and I always want them with me, And, I feel like, even though sometimes I don't feel like I'm making a difference because I'm just doing something small, it's very evident that I am, and that, to me, is extremely empowering. And I hope that you guys can go out into the world and do the same thing. So have a good night, seeing as it's like 10:30. Yeah! And I will talk to you guys soon. I may or may not vlog tomorrow. It depends on my schedule for camp. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Ooh.